You. Now. About to witness the awesome a crushing might of KNUCKLE! Welcome, my friends, to a show that apparently, at least for another 30 editions, never ends. It's Knuckle Up number 288. How do you feel, Tony? I feel great. Uh-oh. It's on UFC. Fight nights 99 and 100. I am your host, Eugene S. Robinson. And we got a chock full. Scribble sheets, movie recommends. Gonna talk about Descartes. Yes, a little bit about Descartes. The pipe. It's my Robert Blake pipe. As in, you can put it in here and smoke it. But first, Stigmata, Calling It a Just, name of the record, intro, All of Nothing. I'm on my way back to nowhere. I took my time, but I could not see too clear. I'm taking a real good look at you. I'm taking a real good look at your face. Being paid back in full, always nothing. All right. So we got a chock full show. So we'll just stop that there. I'll leave this so I can see it if you're texting during the show. I have yoga blocks. I'm trying to keep the laptop off my lap so it doesn't fry my nuts. So now I've got yoga blocks, and that's why it's so freaking high. It's not really it's kind of, how about that? I want you to get the full blast of my nostrils. That's better. So I put the yoga block sideways. It's a little bit more stable. And I bet you feel less claustrophobic. Like, damn, you standing kind of close to me. Don't stand so. Anyway, welcome, my friends. This is another hoary edition of Knuckle Up number 288. And by hoary, I mean prostitute, not old, not Hoary. You learn things in this show. So, look, this is a double header, and there's a lot of stuff to go through on this card. Very specifically, if I was going to do like the 6th round or some of these MMA shows that you haters are so fond of, it would take me all day. And I'm really not going to do that because like the heroin that you might find yourself availing yourself of, what you do is the next day, if you live, you kind of try to put your finger on exactly whether it was good or not. I've told you the story about Tango and Cash. It was a very specific type of heroin going around New York in the late 70s. Do you remember that? Donna Shalala me through Twitter. If you send me a note on Twitter, it'll come up on the screen and I'll just stop talking. But this guy, let's just call him a guy, a friend. In that actual case, it was a friend. In 1977, I was freaking 16 or something like that, or 15. So it wasn't me. But he got this Tango and Cash, and he and this other friend, they shot it up, right? They shot it up, and the guy says, man, if I OD on this, don't get me any help, because this is the best shit ever. That's how I want to go out. He's all right. So they shoot up. Other guy comes to before my dude comes to. And he's like, oh, dude's going to die. So he panics. He calls a hospital. They rush over. They shoot him up with Narcan. And, you know, back in those days in New York, they would criminal possession. If it's in your system or in your pocket, I think they would get you anyway. So he breaks out of the hospital like it's raid on Entebbe the other way. He escapes from the hospital, runs back up to the Bronx, finds the guy, and goes, you fucking owe me. I told you. I told you not to save my life. You wasted my high. I told you. So so the next day after the show, after the UFC 99, the Hall versus Musashi 2, and the Ryan Bader versus Nogueira, we have a lot of fights to go to. So let's get to it. And as usual, we're going to start with the top of the card. And the top of the card specifically in this one is UFC Fight Night 99, Hall and Musashi 2. Now listen, I've been a huge fan of Musashi, huge, longtime fan of Musashi. There was a great moment when he takes me back to the spirit of Oleg Toktarov, if you remember from one of the early UFCs, because his manner was so unassuming. And there's a certain point at which guys who have manners that are unassuming realize, you know, sometimes it's guys, you know, when they're like 28 and they realize, man, this unassuming thing is not getting me laid. And then they join the alt-right and become angry, act out, or they turn 28 and they adjust. You know, being unassuming is not getting me anything. They asked him when he was laying waste to guys in Strikeforce, they asked him, the hell was that? Sometimes they're gunshots. Make sure I'm armed as well. They said, hey, how come, how come you haven't fought the UFC? And he just kind of said self-effacingly, they never asked. They never asked. Well, you'll notice that there's been a distinct temperature change and not a character change, because I've known this about the guy for a long time, but there's been a temperature change in the media room that Musashi lets people into. And keep in mind, you won't find a more opinionated people than the Dutch. If you're Dutch and you're listening, you know I'm exactly fucking right. Now, they're not going to throw down if you're in a bar like you would in any bar in America, but these are some opinionated guys. So, I remember seeing something where he was sparring with Honda. You can find it on YouTube. I'm sure it's still there. And I was just digging. He was speaking Dutch to his corner guys. And I didn't need to speak fucking Dutch or Flemish or whatever the fuck it's called, Dutchland. I didn't have to speak Hollandaisisch, Hollandesk. I didn't have to speak the Amsterdamski. I didn't have to speak that language to know that they were clowning her. And I was like, there we go. Not so much the inner heel, but the same thing that drives a lot of these fighters. There's a reason you become a fighter. There's a reason. At the earliest stage of my life, I remember going out with the kids next door, and there was an older brother and a younger brother, and this good friend of mine, this girl named Peaches. We'd all play together. Now, the older brother had the younger brother on lock, and I was as old as the younger brother, but I refused to be fucking held down, and especially since we were all sort of vying for the attention of Peaches. What's her name? I was 4 years old, must have been 4 years old. I was routinely fighting this older brother every chance I could get. Win or lose, I'd be out there the next day and I'd fight him. And then, if I lose, not like a serious fight, it's a kid fight, but it was life and death. I wasn't doing that because I was a healthy guy, but I wasn't doing that because I was anything but a healthy guy. I was a very specific type of guy, And if you don't think, like Tyson at one point said, I call it the Tyson ethos. What are you going to do? You know how many times a day I end up saying that to myself? I actually asked a guy who I worked with, who had been at the company longer, but I looked at the org chart. He were in a dotted line. He was asking me to do something. I'm not going to do that. That's stupid. He goes, you got to do it. I said, we'll talk to Vicky. We'll see what Vicky thinks, but I'm not going to do it coming from you alone. He goes, well, you got to go. What are you going to do? You going to beat me up? And he storms out of my office. It always comes down to this. So, you got these guys out there doing the Golly G. Willikers, Sage Northcutt. What? Northcutt. No, Sage Northcutt. I think to him, he's honest. He's a kid. He's 19. But a grown adult male, it depends on whether it's in your blood. But you got to know a lot of these guys Some of the guys I know who are in prison now for 25 years are like that. They become fighters because they have a specific worldview that must be guarded at all costs. Looking downward, that worldview is very much about protecting this kind of sensitive ego core. Looking upward, it's about major delusions of grandeur, which you haven't had debunked. If you are Gegard Mousasi, you have not had these notions debunked, except for, they say sometimes cowards are the worst people because they will go to absolutely heroic lengths to conceal the full nature of their cowardice. I mean, if you know, with Hitler, he was a soldier, but Lieutenant David Grossman wrote a book on killing. He's a West Point guy. It's called On Killing. And he said he discovered, through looking at his research from the Revolutionary War on, that a lot of guns were left on the battlefield unfired when it was clear that the people holding those guns continued to exist beyond the holding of those guns. So he was surmising that rather than kill a fellow human being, they were dropping their guns and doing other things. Based on the historical record, they were not always fleeing. They would maybe find their bodies dead later on, but they were shot in the front. They were maybe in a compensatory gesture, were frequently over-engaging and ended up inadvertent acts of heroism. Hitler, very much the same thing, was not doing too much shooting, but was distinguishing himself on the battlefield by rescuing people, right? So you got these people who will defend their core, but then you have these others with delusions, real serious delusions of dangerous delusions of grandeur. That's me raising my hand for those of you who are listening to this. If you're listening to it audio without the ugly, I am now holding my hand. Even when I got beat by Cain Velasquez or any one of the pros that I fought from, Kevin Randleman on through, at the end of the beating, I would always say to myself, I'm better than those guys. Those guys are not better than me. Not better than me. Frank Trigg, Vladimir Matyshenko, Tank Abbott. They're not better than me. Yeah. So I think Gegard comes from the latter class, based on a character monograph I've developed, so that if he were a Uriah Hall, that first loss starts to tell himself stuff about himself that he has been fighting to keep secret and now burst out. Kind of like Mike Pence and the whole gay thing. If Mike Pence is not a repressed homosexual, I am not sitting here doing this show now. Those are the only people who give a shit about this, because if you're gay, you're just gay. And if you're not gay and okay not being gay, you don't give a shit. If you lose and you got that sensitive core that you're trying to protect and conceal from the world, or you're doing like Mike Pence, fighting a gay man inside, you're not fighting the loser inside, you just fight again. That's why the number 2 is not part of a trilogy. Even though it's got the basis for being as much a secondary step to a trilogy as anything else. The fights were the same, except that one went one way and one went the other way. Why does Mousasi get to put the period on the end of the sentence? Why? Because his narrative got in front of that train quick. It was a fluke, fluky fluke, 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 fluke. And Hall was like, he wants to denigrate me. I've been dealing with bullies all my life. Oh, don't. Man, it's like when the fight ends and it's going to go to a decision, and one guy goes, and the other guy raises his hand. You got to act like you won. Oh, he thinks he could bully. Let's not get into your psycho monograph of the bullied kid. And then in a package, Uriah Hall is like, I was bullied, and then the magical S word, and I considered suicide. You know what? None of us are here for that shit. If I want to have my quiet suicide nights where I'm sitting in the closet with a shotgun in my mouth, I have them on my own time. I don't need you to remind me of them. Yeah. Okay, great. Got it. I got most of these Iranian mullah clergy are oppressed gay. So yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. So they propagate hatred. Who else goes through the fucking trouble? Who else goes through the trouble? I'll give you an example. My freshman year of college, they say they're going to have gay something day, gay rights day something. And they said, okay, gay rights day, everybody who supports gay rights wear jeans today. Now, as a fairly shallow 18-year-old, I'm like, man, what the fuck is that about? What? Like, I gotta change my pants so people don't think I'm gay. First of all, I don't give a shit if people think I'm gay or not. But how dare they subvert my fashion choice? My roommate just looked at me and goes, "What do you give a shit?" I was like, "Yeah, that's pretty. You're goddamn right. What do I give a fuck if people think I'm gay? Hey, is it going to cost me QuickTime Crosstown QTAT? No. I thought it was at that point. I thought it was genius, and it was a point they were trying to make. It was a clever genius point. So you know, I'm getting off the track. Right? We're talking about Mike Pence. We're talking about Uriah Hall. This is why Mousasi he characterized his opponent. He characterized the action of the opponent at the conclusion of the fight, which ended very similarly to. In fact, I thought it was a soft ending. I thought it was an early stoppage. And I did. And don't say, "Oh, Eugene, what you always say about early stoppages." You say you look at the opponent who was early stopped and see if he objects much. And I look at Uriah, and he didn't object much. Uriah is fighting that losing guy inside. Of course, he's not. He was talking in his package about committing suicide and being bullied. He's dealing with something else. He feels more comfortable where he is now. And Gegard very specifically did not. He should have made that guy wait, because Gegard realistically is like an easy jumping in the back of the cab and taxi driver, because when I'm not high, I got nowhere else to go. But he didn't. Why? Because ritual humiliation for those who love humiliation is delightful. I used to go out with this woman who was super into. Said, "We got to go to a strip club." I got to fucking strip club. I'm like, that's a waste of money. I don't want to. I couldn't figure out, like, why is this obsession with the strip club? God, you know, because then already in the door, hey, if I want to see titty, you got titty. I gotta go to play $80 at a club so we can go in so I can see more. And I was like, okay, all right, clearly there's something else happening here, and I don't know what it is. So we go in, and you know, people asking me for a lap dance, or asking her for a lap dance. She was like, no, because I know you got to pay, and I don't want to pay. But they have these things called ultra rooms, right? This is at Mitchell Brothers in San Francisco. And ultra rooms, these two women come out on the table, and you're surrounded by windows, right? I don't know if I could even finish this story, actually. I don't know why I even started. But the punch, I'll just get to the punchline. The punchline is that her aphrodisiac was humiliation, which is why Uriah Hall has had the career he's had. Because if he was just okay and then lost, you wouldn't care. The degree to which a character in Greek tragedy has heroic dimension is measured by the delta, the growth delta, the fall. The fall. If the character is down here and he stumbles, nobody gives a shit. It's when he's a King Lear that people care. So he has these flashing moments of brilliance, and then kakakaboosh, serves his narrative. He enjoys it. Fundamentally, he must enjoy it. He must enjoy it because he's done it enough. And Mousasi is now on his way. He's a wild man. Who said that? I interviewed this undercover organized crime cop in New York. He talked about these murderers, the Gemini twins. He goes, those guys were wild men. These guys killed like over 200 people. So they wrap towels around their head, shoot them, cut them up in the bathtub, ba-bing. They distribute their bodies all over Brooklyn, Canarsie, the Flatlands, you know, West Flatbush. So Gegard is now a wild man. He's talking shit about Connor McGee. He doesn't give a fuck because he's done the math. Like, there's that great line from that band, 16 Horsepower. He says, someday we'll look. He goes, I know some people are thinking, I know you might be thinking, someday we'll look back and laugh. But I don't think so, brother, because I've done the math. Gegard has done the math. Based on the amount of time he has left, based on the amount of career time he has left, what he's fighting against is him retiring, sitting his ass in a chair like this one, and watching a guy in his division come and fight a $5 million fight while he sits at home and goes, God damn. So if you want a major care, Gegard Mousasi until he gets that belt. And whatever fight he goes into where he's competing for that belt, he will be fighting like a man possessed. Look at his win-loss record. The guy's had over 50 freaking fights, or close to 50. He's not messing around. He is not messing around at all. You know what it takes to get through that many fights? You know what goes into training for that many fights to get through successfully without injury? The guy, do not nap. Do not nap. In terms of, he is like the furthest thing from Phantom Tollbooth in this. He won the fight, so he would be. But this is a guy. He's got everything that Uriah Hall doesn't have. Yeah, people say, "Oh, you mean a drive to be great?" Nah. Greatness is a human measure. He's on some inhuman, non-human thing. It's like the Platonic triad of eternal ideas. That's where he's going. Greatness is small compared to what he's thinking. He's talking about the remaining duration of his time on the planet. His wins are existential. So going down the list, Mousasi, Kid Nate and I both picked Mousasi. We both picked Siri. But of course, Siri against Uncle Creepy is out because, as I correctly pegged Uncle Creepy, some of you said in comments that I jinxed him, but the reality of it is he's a hard luck guy. He was sick and had to pull out. What the fuck could you be sick with? What the fuck could you be sick with? Better to go in and lose than to go in sick. Well, hold on. Better to go and lose than to pull out because you were sick. That shit is ridiculous. So Siri has no fight. Uncle Creepy, what do you say? 4-minute warning. Come on, man. Sorry, dude. Man, I got, shit. It's out tomorrow. This live thing is a special treat, Joe. So Siri was out. And then this is where we start to separate the wheat from the chaff because I foolishly chose Bagatinov because I've been thinking that fighters from Japan have been underperforming as of late. And, of course, Kid Nate, being the Japanophile he is, Horiguchi kicked Bagatinov's ass. I took one look at Bagatinov and I thought, if wishes were dreams, it was food poisoning. Okay. Uncle Creepy had food poisoning. Now you think about I had a big bowl of cioppino once. I went my first business luncheon that I was paid for by somebody else. I must have been in my 20s. I was like, oh shit, I'm in the big time. I go to the restaurant and they say, hey, whatever you want. Whatever. I don't have to pay. No, you don't have to pay. I gotta get the most expensive thing on the menu. What is that? Cioppino. Cioppino, you know what cioppino is? It's the Russian roulette of seafood dishes. It's a stew with clams, mussels, shrimp, scallop, all at one fucking. I eat this thing, by the time I get back to the office, I know I'm in trouble. Run to the bathroom, got explosive diarrhea. Crazy, vomit by everything. I have to finish a day at work, just lingering around the bathroom. I didn't think I could get rid of that much. You know what I did that night? Went home, put on 2 pairs of compression shorts, and then I went to the gym. Oh, Eugene, there's nothing like a 3-round fight where you got to, oh, really? Those were the days when I would do 5-hour workouts at the gym. I had to interrupt my workout to run. You go, oh, you can't interrupt your workout to, hey, man, I don't know what they're doing with those buckets and the towels. And he wouldn't be the first guy who pooped in the cage. Food poisoning. You think this guy, everybody likes a funny mustache, dude, but you probably looked at your last chance. How the fuck does that feel? That's why Olympic athletes, when they go places, they eat at McDonald's. I remember thinking, that's bullshit. Those guys care about that, but they're putting that crap. And then finally somebody explained to me, McDonald's has standardized food. You can go into, name a city in Romania. I don't know. You go into some city, Romania, you go in Tokyo, the food is made along similar standards. You're probably not going to get poisoned. You cannot run the risk. So that fight was scratched. Bagatinov, I always knew he would fail, but never quite so spectacular. I'll take that one on the chin. That was a bad call on my part. It was a perfect story of not trusting Japanese fighters and having emotional feelings about Bagatinov washed out. We both picked Kid Nathaniel Magomed, who got beat by Kevin Lee, who I didn't see Kevin Lee pulling off. But listen, let me explain something to you. And this is where we get into the Descartes thing, right? So Descartes said at one point I can't even remember what the book is called, Meditations? I don't remember. And he said, suppose all of your senses deceived you. I mean, certainly you've had that occasion where you thought it was somebody and it was somebody else. So you got, okay, so these are unreliable, all right? So suppose somebody says something and you mishear. Okay, so you hear, your ears, you never know when they lie to you. They're unreliable. And he systematically goes through all of your senses and goes, you can rule them out. What would you know? Helen Keller shit. What would you know without your senses? Touch, no sight, no sound. He goes, well, you would be in the, even in utero are exposed to stimuli. But if you, in a Skinner box, you had nothing. What would you know? And this is where he came up with his idea, I think, therefore I am. But he very specifically said, numbers. Numbers under the framework of I have a sense of an individual I that is separate from you. So I got at least two, right? Now there's a guy called C.P. Snow and another guy called F.R. Leavis, and they wrote a book called Two Cultures, separated by a question mark. I think C.P. Snow wrote the book Two Cultures, and then F.R. Leavis wrote the answer book, Two Cultures, question mark. Good books. The point is, I don't want to simplify and overgeneralize, but this is a very, very simple thing. A very simple thing. You either have it or you don't have it. That's it. So, and I'm speaking very specifically about Kevin Lee in this instance. This is the tie-in. Now, what is it? What is it? I had Frank McCourt, who wrote Angela's Ashes, was a teacher in my high school, and he and his brother Malachi, or Malachi, as I used to call him, jokingly, did this thing called A Couple of Braggarts. And they sat around, they bullshit like they would at home. It was a big off-Broadway sensation well before Angela's Ashes came out. It was just Irish blag, I don't know if you ever been in a bar in Dublin or Belfast or any of these other places, but, they talk about the gift of gab. That Irish got it. English have it, too, to a lesser degree. It depends. It depends on where you are in England. I like when that guy Godbeer came out, the British fighter. They go, hey, from, England. And the Irish guys were like, for those of you listening, there were some Irish guys not fucking clapping at all. I watched the guy walk in, and he's like holding his hands up, and everybody's like, for those of you listening can't see it, they were sucking their teeth and I'm not going to fuck you. Like my friend Declan says, I go to England, London, and ask for directions. They hear my accent. They do not give me directions. All the time, he goes, now about 30% of the time. Down from about 60% of the time 10 years ago. Shit, okay. Regional, I don't know. So you got all these guys. Who comes in? JT Ledette, or whoever the guy, the Texas, who wants to fight on the UFC and Houston card. He's a boxer. but he's like a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. He beat the crap out of the guy. I got my list somewhere here. Figure it out. He comes in and he's doing the McGregor walk. I guess he thought that would be a big hit in Belfast, and it got a kind of a muted response. At least ways that I could hear. It got pretty much a muted response. And I realized. Oh, let me explain to you just what happened, because we're short on time because it's a big show. I went from Gegard Mousasi. I went down. I went along the Cares. So if you remember correctly, if you listen to the Care Don't Care preview, and I'm backtracking to explain to you how we got to Magomed and Kevin Lee, because when they said Ross Pearson and Stevie Ray, I said I only see one thing in Ross Pearson's future, and I can't be a party to it. So I do not care about this fight. And true to form, Ross Pearson lost that fight. I did not care about Timothy Johnson and Alexander Volkov. I did not care about Artem Lobov and Teruto Ishihara. I did not care about Blad and Jack Marshman. I did care about Bagatinov and Horiguchi. I got reamed by Bagatinov. I didn't get reamed by Horiguchi. He did what he was supposed to do. Bagatinov did not. And then I cared about Kevin Lee and Magomed. I didn't care about Amanda Bobby Cooper and Anna Elmos, though I should have cared about that one, because Anna Elmose, the Danish fighter, actually lost to Charmaine Randami, who was a known associate and a friend of Knuckle Up, been on the show before several times, twice at least. Mark Godbeer and Justin Ledette, that was his name. Didn't care about that. Justin Ledette, I think I was pretty impressed with. Did he make it care? Yep, I'd say he's a care now. He's actually a legitimate boxer, not just an MMA guy who boxed, legitimate boxer. So of the don't cares that moved to cares, we got Justin Ledette. Mark Godbeer, they hated because he's English. Zach Cummins and Alexander Yakovlev, I didn't give a shit, and I still don't give a shit. Sorry. Milana Dudiev and Marion Renault, well, I was in a cranky mood. It was a certain letdown, post the UFC 205. Didn't give a crap. And I watched the fight, and I was glad Renault won, but Brett Johns and Quang Hank Kwok didn't care. And then opening up, surprise, and some of you texted me, you knew Abdel Rasai Hassan Chop and Charlie Ward. That was fucking mighty fucking shit. So that is like a guy who looks like Uriah Hall and fights like Gegard Mousasi, and then comes out and was like the original Johnny Boney Joni. Just got this Ghanaian. Sorry, it's Ghanaian. Ghanaian guy, I'm just so happy to be here. Oh, God. That guy, that is the major care. Minor care, Ledette. Major care off the card, Hassan Chop. Usually that could be insulting. I don't care. Calling Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas, that's insulting. Having a call back to Bugs Bunny, El Hassan Chop, is not insulting. You can't tell a difference? Sorry. So that's how we got to Magomedov and Kevin Lee. So the deal with Kevin Lee, choking with that. The deal with Kevin Lee is hold on, I'm confused. Sorry. The deal with Kevin Lee, I got it. Sorry. Is he came out and Hardy is there interviewing him, and Hardy says, fuck all that. The first words are fuck all that. Fuck, I'm calling out the entire division. You guys fucking suck, and I'm gonna put him, Conor McGregor, in his hometown. In his home country. I don't give a fuck. I don't fuck you, fuck it. And he walks out. No shaking hands with Magomedov, who wasn't there to have his hand shook, who was choked out. Wasn't there to have his hand shaken anyway. No interview about, I'm just happy that the UFC. Fuck you. if that was genuine, see, the thing is, most people think about the id as like a thing. It's like when I interviewed Anton LaVey from the Church of Satan, and I was trying to get him to get his hands around what evil was, and he was like, "Well, evil is what doesn't feel good." I go, "A root canal doesn't feel good. Is that evil?" He goes, "Well, it's." I go, you haven't felt it. You haven't felt it. You know, raw animal rage and delight and cruelty. I guess you and bloodlust. You have not been there. Oh, well, and so the id, the quality that kind of defines where you stand up and you say outrageous things and you kind of come in and you got your little funny walker, your funny coat, your funny hat, your funny pipe, your funny glasses, you got all that shit. The underlying belief system that drives it, in Conor McGregor's cases, we're just having a laugh. A couple of blaggers. This is how it ties into Frank McCourt. It's part of the national character, which is cool. It plays well on the international stage. We can see. Doesn't mean we want to see 25 more guys from the Emerald Isle doing that stuff, but it plays well. Got guys walking. It's not the same. It's not the same. What we love is the unvarnished. That is why I'm here. That is why I'm here. And not in a mansion getting Matt Lauer money. Because Matt Lauer and Katie Couric do a really wonderful job of serving up in this package a closeness, intimacy, where they would be your easiest friend to have. I went to a friend's birthday party last night. The bartender took a photo of us, and I kept looking at the picture, and I was going to figure out why the picture creeped me out so much. And I finally realized, man, this is like the most well-adjusted group of people I have ever been around. You know how rare it is for me to be photographed with well-adjusted people? I'm excluding me and the wife because we're completely crazy. So we're like photo bombing, you know? Like we're hanging around with normal people. And the guy said it best. He goes, you know what? I like having you guys as friends. He said, but then I started thinking, would I like being friends with your friends? And I thought, no. So it is clear that we're perceived to be like these outliers. So let's get those lunatics over, and they'll be entertaining for at least an hour. Make sure they leave. Yeah, no. So Kevin Lee comes out there, and I'm looking, and I'm like replaying it because I watched it on Fight Pass. I'm replaying it, and I was like, yo, man, I think dude's legit. I think he's fucking legit. Why else would you come out there and, what, Sean Shelby? Fuck you. I'm from fucking Detroit. It's one of the murder capitals of the fucking in America. The country is going through. What do you need? You gonna do yoga right now? No, thanks. No, it's okay. So I start to think Kevin Lee is actually like Kevin Lee is like, that's it. And you got to understand that when we talk about it, it's all to the character made, right? It's like, that's why when Justin Ledet comes in doing the Conor McGregor walk, it's like, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? The audience is like, what are you doing? The fuck are you doing? Now, if Kevin Lee loses, then we call it exit of the angry man. He's done. But as long as he can carry that shit, that's your thing. I mean, we're looking for Matt Lauer survives because the package that he offers, he could be a monster in real life, but the package he offers is easy. Like when you're sitting at a table in a restaurant, at a bar, and you eat a peanut. Matt Lauer is that peanut. You don't really want the peanut. You don't want the peanut. You don't really hate the peanut. You don't really love the peanut. It's just a peanut. People ask you, had a good time. You say, yeah, I had a great time. How much did the peanut contribute? Well, maybe not much. How much did the peanut stand in the way? Well, maybe not much. Maybe not much. He's a peanut. Katie Couric is a slightly more attractive peanut. You know, you watch Katie Couric and you feel pretty good about it. That's okay. That's their shtick. It works for them. She could be a monster in real life. I don't know, but her shtick works for her. This is why people like, I get advice from you guys. You guys give me advice because you're worried about 251. So Eugene, look, you don't have to be, you got these self-defeating behaviors. You could improve the lighting. I improve the lighting. You could improve the audio. Well, you could edit. You could do, no. You don't understand. I'm going to go to Klaus Barbie on this one. When he was in Spandau prison, they interviewed him, and they said to him, do you feel some sort of need to, contrition? Do you feel sorry? What is it I have to feel sorry for? I was a high-ranking officer and one of the best militaries the world has ever seen. If I had 1,000 lifetimes to lead, I would lead them the way I've led this one. Now, I'm not a kill-crazy Nazi, but I'm going to have to say, you got to understand, if I had 1,000 lifetimes to lead, I would lead them the way I'm leading this one. Yes, Matt Lauer drives home to a mansion, and I will die in flames, but I did it like Frank Sinatra said, my way. If that's a legitimate Kevin Lee, God love you, I love this guy. And I think it's got to be, because how do you wave off your interview and tell everybody, go fuck yourself, essentially? You know why? Because he's internalized what the Diaz's at this point now had figured out. But this guy I say the most important person to you is the guy across the cage from you. Yeah, fundamentally, but he's also the most dangerous person to your aspirations to eat and not go back to fucking Detroit to try to get a job in a factory. You are face to face with the possibility of loss represented in the body and the form of that person on the other side of the cage. And everybody sitting on the outside of the cage at those ringside tables, those are not your friends. Gegard, he's called out, he goes, the media is stupid. Obviously, some guy says some pretty words and he gets a fight. We're starting to see guys who are, grinding. And I don't mean hardworking guys. It could be the key to why somebody succeeds, because they're like, you know what? I don't give a shit. To keep that monkey show shit for somebody else. Like the guy, Godbeer, was almost going to quit. He said, he's one of the famous stories. These guys are going to quit because I can't eat. I haven't had a fight. I'm signing the contract. I haven't had a fight. And they kind of pull him out of the cobwebs, and he's happy. Well, he needs to be thinking about that happiness, because in 3 months, that money's going to be gone. Whatever they paid him, less than 3. I'm being optimistic. So we have don't cares to move to cares. Kevin Lee moved to, and I don't think it damages Magomed. Magomed. I don't think it damages him. Not much. But Kevin Lee, that was beautiful. So he's now a care. Justin Ledette, also now a care. Those two cares. Who else did I say was a care off that card? I'm trying, because we got the whole other card. So El Hassan Chop. I gave him his fight nickname. He doesn't have one. The Ghanaian. Love this guy. I care now. I'll pay attention. And everybody, Justin Ledette, El Hassan, and Kevin Lee. Those are the only don't cares that became cares. So we're done with that fight. Let's go over to Bader and Nogueira 2. And you know what? Based on my card here, we didn't have many more likes on this card. I'm looking at all the little paperwork I got here, my scribble sheets and so on. Well, there are a couple things. One, I care about overall care success rate. And then the other thing I care about is beating Kid Nate. And if you know me well enough, you know very specifically that I don't care so much about an overall success rate as I do care about beating Kid Nate. In other words, much like Captain Ahab, we could be drowning on the back of a white whale. As long as I drown after him, I'm happy. So let's see. Let's go to UFC Fight Night 100, which is Bader and Nogueira 2. Let's see if I can find it before the show expires. Man, my eyes are burning. What is that a symptom of? Burning eyes? What does that mean? In the meantime, while I'm looking for that, I'll say we always knew boxing would fail, but never quite so spectacularly. The Andre Ward, Sergey Kovalev, Andre Ward, Sergey Kovalev. You know what that's like? In the We Don't Care news. Fedor signs a multi-fight deal with Bellator, and George St. Pierre appears in the Bellator cage. Least award for least effective negotiating tactic goes to GSP. I knew a guy who once ate dog shit once. We picked Manny Gamburian to lose. He lost, retired. Are you sad? No, not sad. Not sad. You know what made me sad? Let's start at the top of the card. Nogueira made me sad. Little Nog made me sad. Because you could see that Bader was fighting like Musasi's thinking. So you got me in here stuck at number 4. What do you think? What do you think? Like I'm a clown? Like I'm here to fucking amuse you? Like I'm nowhere, right? I'm just stuck in this. Yeah, okay. I'm in the Phantom Toll booth with a fucking. So I got number 4 on this piece of paper, but that doesn't mean shit. You don't care about me. The media doesn't write about me. How does that feel? Well, let's ask Nogueira how it feels. That was punishing. And it was like sometimes you'll see a guy is mounted up on another guy and starts to deliver elbows. And he's delivering elbows because he knows every elbow delivered, will actually signify a point of some kind. So I don't really have to hurt the guy. I don't have to hurt. He said, fuck that. Fuck that. Fuck you. Kevin Lee style. Fuck you. The cat has put a bag on his head. The deaf cat has put a bag on his head and is wandering around with the bag on his head. You see this? He did that to himself. So now he's effectively Helen Keller. He's wandering around with the bag on his head and he can't hear. I don't know what that means. So anyway, so Bader doesn't need to. Bader has spoken without speaking. Nogueira should retire. I don't care if he knows he should retire. He's not fighting again. Because I guarantee you, nobody in Brazil wants to see that either. They love this guy. They don't want to see it. So Thomas Almeida and Albert Morales didn't care. Claudia Gadella and Courtney Casey. Oh my God, my knees suddenly, they're really paining me. They're paining me. So let's see. So I didn't pick, I don't even know if I want to go through Kid Nate's picks. He picked Pedro Munoz against Justin Scoggins. I didn't even pick because I didn't care about Pedro, but I know Justin Scoggins has failed spectacularly. So I didn't pick. So I didn't care about Francois Barroso, Darren Stewart. I didn't care about Munoz and Scoggins. I didn't care about, and when I'm telling you now, I don't care. What I mean specifically is, I didn't care before, and I still don't care. Christian Colombo, De Oliveira, because a don't care doesn't keep you in your seat long enough so that you can care. That's what I thought before, and that's pretty consistent. That's what I'm thinking after. In the case of El Hassan, surprise, he knocked the guy out in 56 seconds. I didn't have time to get up and leave. Johnny Eduardo and Manny Gamburian, we both picked Johnny Eduardo. So, and we foolishly I didn't care about Antigulov and Lima or for Fischera and Hermanson. Didn't care about Moraes and Otto, and didn't care about Alves and Usman. Sorry. And I mean, you'll note a lot of these I don't care what like decisions. So, but we did care about Jotko and Letes, and in true gift fashion, Letes lost, and we both got that wrong. And we both picked Claudia Gadella, and she did win. And we both picked Bader, and Bader won. And then I have some mysterious note down here that says Freebie and the Bean, which is, I'm guessing, a movie reference that we should go see. So, all right. So now I got about another 10 minutes to go. I want to get through that card. There's nothing much to talk about on this card. I don't give a shit. I'm not. My time is finite. Sorry, finite. And I went to the Hoist Gracie seminar yesterday, and it was interesting. It was a good seminar, even though I was put in foul humor because of dude's political sympathies. But whatever, he didn't bring it into the class. And and fundamentally, I have friends who are. I mean, what they're doing in a really interesting way, they're now touting him as an independent for the first time. An independent. I'm reading this, an independent. Because it's like the Republicans, like, when we can't be caught. Okay, he ran on the Republican ticket, but he was really an imposter. His agenda and our agenda might be separated. And I'm saying, it didn't, you know what it took to get Kennedy out of the picture? It took a loose coalition of enemies. Like, Hitler was convinced that he could attack Russia because he was convinced that the U.S. would never get into it. You don't amass enemies. He had the same access to Machiavelli that the rest of us did. You don't amass enemies, right? Outside of people in rusty pickup trucks, and that's a mischaracterization because one of the number one Trump fans that I know is a fairly brilliant guy who works at Microsoft, doesn't drive a rusty pickup truck at all. But he's hoping, like you've heard me say, why would I get Joe the plumber to fix my car? I would get Joe the mechanic. Specialization is a reality. I don't want Joe the plumber taking out my appendix. I want Joe the surgeon. But what we just saw happen is essentially 40 fucking years of Joe the plumber fucking up your plumbing, so much so that at least 49% of America said, you know what? I'm going to give Joe the plumber a chance to take out my appendix. Because he couldn't do any worse than Joe the surgeon, or in this instance, to make the parallel complete, Joe the politician. It is a last step before total anarchy, however. Because you can't tell me you can get Joe the surgeon to do the job of Joe the mechanic and expect your car to get you anywhere very fast. Well, like I said, it's my time. Chaos, apocalypse. I have stickers. Used to have a sticker on my car called Armageddon Enterprises. That was the name of the game, buddy, and that's where we are, and I'm all right with that. Because you're crazy. You're so crazy, so wacky and crazy. Wacky and crazy. You're paranoia. You're wacky, crazy, paranoia. Really? We'll see about that. We'll see how crazy I am. At this point now, we are literally like life in the Reichstag. Hitler loved this idea of everybody warring factions. So people were summarily arrested, depending on the rank, by other upper echelon officers. It was a process of weeding out. It was hyena style. Hyenas who kill their siblings, they get more food. This happens. They kill each other in the womb. So that when you pass each other in the Reichstag, you would go, "Good morning," and you have your back to the wall and your hand on your sidearm. Yeah. Nah. It is like the Borgias. It is like if you think that campaign was a party, you're about to see a real party. Except now it's inner. And so all the white nationalists who were like, we finally got Zog on the run. Really? Zog, Zionist occupied government on the run? What kind of sense do you make of Kushner? Well, nah. You have unstable and shifting alliances, and everybody's after everybody because chaos merchants love it. A chaos merchants loves that because in the chaos, the building's on fire and everybody's running out and everybody's grabbing their cats and they're grabbing their baby pictures, and the chaos merchant is at the till grabbing the cash. I want to stand next to the chaos merchant. Wherever a little guy is somewhere getting pushed around by a big guy, I'll be there. Big guy pushing around a little guy seems to be a safer bet. I know somebody got on me for the dark cynicism of the last show, 289, but I feel better than I felt in a long time. And there's a reason for that. They say that they've taken people who have anxiety disorders and they make them war journalists. And these war journalists, they take them to really fucked up places. And they said, finally, they interviewed this one woman. She goes, her marriage was falling apart back home. And then they sent her to like Lebanon in the middle of the Civil War. She was a terrible insomniac and her marriage was falling apart back home. And she hated New York City. And they sent her to Lebanon in the middle of the war. And she goes, suddenly she was sleeping like a baby. Like a baby. Was really happy, enjoyed her life, loved her husband, called him every night. Hotel moved all because it was being bombed and people were shooting at her. Because finally, there was no dissonance. Her internal world matched her external world. And I'm feeling very much the same way. Like an old roommate of mine said, everything that you used to say, and he was saying this on the occasion of me hanging out with Bill Clinton, which is where the Donna Shalala story comes from. Every crazy thing that you used to say has now come true. I don't know what to make of that. You are hanging around with the President of the United States of America, and I don't know what to make of that. I was like, well, wherever there's a little guy being pushed around by a big guy, I'll be there. I'll be there to help him out. So anyway, so there's UFC Fight Night 99 and 100. The doubleheader was noteworthy for how bad the heroin fundamentally made me feel. But that doesn't matter because it's not today's heroin that I care about. It's tomorrow's heroin. So under normal circumstances, I would feel bad for Nogueira so much that it would have completely ameliorated the rest of this card. And it sort of has. I had fewer cares on that card than I did on the other card. But what I saw on 99, UFC Fight Night 99, which is a few hours earlier, what I saw on that was enough to buoy my spirits, specifically El Hassan, Gegard, Kevin Lee, the retirement of Manny Gamburian. Okay with this? It's a smart thing. It all balanced out. This Justin Ledette, moving from don't care to care, all okay. Because for 2017, I understand that I've got some guys who figured out at their core that the issue is fundamentally opening a little window into your forehead and exposing what's in there to the world. And it may happen that when you open that forehead into the world, you end up in this chair. Or it may happen that when you open up that forehead into the world, you end up in Matt Lauer's chair. That you end up Cal Scalak or you end up Conor McGregor. What are you texting me here? What was somebody saying? Here, let's just take a look before we sign off. It might be something earth shattering. Ian McCall had food poisoning. Yeah, I got. And the thing is, you got to run that risk. Would I open my forehead and put a sticker up that lets me pimp that Matt Lauer shit? Would I do that? Some would. I can't. Some guys will come in the cage walking like Conor McGregor, and the audience is like, what are you doing? Will it work for them? I don't know. The British have made a great history of having American copy bands, sort of, right? Like Radiohead, people forget, initially started as like a British version of Nirvana. I know you're going to dispute that because they had a longer, healthier career and made more interesting music later on. But you take Creep, and that could have, and the video for Creep, and that could have been a fucking Nirvana song, and you know it. Bush, the band Bush, that was a British version of Pearl Jam, and you know it. You know it. We don't even have to go into this. So because in Britain, music is understood to be an industry, an export that is worthwhile investing in and caring about. Doesn't make a difference. So can you have that in the fighting? Can you have, well, one guy walks into the cage like that, and the other guy walks in? Can we make that work? Well, yeah, it doesn't. No, because we're really highly attuned to bullshit, and we're on this fucking web every day. And now magazines used to be able to do it. We have a desire for this heroin that is deep and genuine. So when these guys open their heads, you want the real deal, and that's why McGregor works, because it's a show, but it's also a tell. And it's at base root who he really is. So that's why it works. Nick Diaz, open up that thing in their forehead, and that's them. That's why it works. Sage is sage. North but what? It works, but it doesn't play. There are no legs to that. How do we know? Because we can't find Chris Weidman. Golly G. Willikers stuff. The good guys think you finish last. We want legit. So, we elect a president who we want to have a beer with. Well, it turns out that's not really the case. We can't get close enough to figure it out. And it's not their job to let us get close until they're running for office. But the reality of it is, when you feel or think about a celebrity that you like and enjoy, it is very specifically because of those reasons, because you feel like you know them. And if you're one of those lucky celebrities, the you that you actually are is who you're actually sharing with the people that give a shit. I've had some of you call me on the phone, and we talk on the phone, and we email. Some of you, when the band Oxbow is on tour, you come to shows and we talk, and you can attest that very much who I am now is much more, is exactly who it is that I am. Now you can look at the Eugenius videos on Ozzy, and you go, okay, Eugene is doing this thing. A friend of mine who used to run Hydra Head Records goes, I can't stand those Eugenius videos because it's like you're doing shtick. I'm not really doing a shtick. I'm getting as close as I can to the real me before it scares away the people who are comfortable with Matt Lauer. That's why the videos are so short. Under 2 minutes, in, out. That's it. It's like looking at the bush. You will get struck blind unless you have a certain sentiment. If you've listened to the show for this long, I'm sorry to say, in that photograph I was speaking about earlier, you would also feel like an outlier. You're not okay. You're here. But, you know, we have the joy of fellowship, and that's okay. I would like it to get me that Matt Lauer, Katie Couric money, but it's not. So here we are, and that's okay. Kevin Lee, that's the guy I want. McG, that's the guy I want. I want Gegard Mousasi, that's the guy I want. I want legitimate characters. Legitimate. Don't sell me some shit that I'm not going to buy. The reinvigorated Ryan Bader, like Drax the Destroyer, fighting against the fate that he knows lays in wait for him because he will never hold that strap. He will be Henderson old before he has that strap. And you can fight like a demon, but you won't fight fate. And that shit is super compelling because you can get a window into how he perceives the world. And it's like, that's where the drama is, baby. Guy stands up and he says, I just want to thank. If that's you, man, that's great. Good for you. I don't care. The guy at the gas station is perfectly nice. I don't care. I'm not spending $60 to see it. This is about something else. This is about thinking, and therefore I am. In other words, the Descartesian thing of it's this or that, and that's all we have, these two things. Anyway, I've run way over. Sorry. So I gotta go. And we'll end the show the way we began the show. Thank you all for coming. This is Leonard Prince Garnell, and this is Bad MMA Commentating with Eugene S. Robinson as Leonard Prince Garnell. And you'll have to admit, that wasn't very good now, was it? We'll see you. I'll be in New York in a few days. I'm going to try to get up to Henzo's and train. So if somebody wants to roll with me, maybe we can run into each other there. Or if you see me on the streets, it's no accident. Yes, yeah, it is me. Last time I was in New York doing the Mafia thing, I got pegged 3 times by fans of Knuckle Up, which is totally fucking cool. Come on up. I'll be glad to talk to you. If you're hostile, I'm glad to talk to you too. We'll just talk about different things. Anyway, that's the end of the show. We'll be back. I get back on Sunday. So the next Knuckle Up will be on Sunday anyway. But we'll see you soon tomorrow morning with If I Did It, and then maybe a Care Don't Care, because I don't think there's a fight next week, so I don't know if there is one. But we'll see you soon. Look what you made me do!